All right, hello and welcome back. Today I had a request. I gave as a gift a coaster, paperweight, whatever you want to call it, to some fellow employees. I gave them a coaster and it had one of these little baby Jesus, one of these little tiny Jesuses in it. Because everybody needs a little Jesus. Sometimes we need it more than others. So they asked for 3 more. So I'm going to make a set of these. And I have got my resin mixed. Now, a lot of people ask a lot of questions on just how to clean up after, how to clean your utensils, how to clean your paddles, how to clean different things. What I like to do, I have this mixer here, and the first thing I like to do is once the resin's out or done, and I've got my resin mixed, and I'm going to show you why I like a paddle mixer as opposed to doing it by hand. So I let that kind of spin off a little bit, and there are people that will argue their way of doing it. I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. This is just what I find that works for me, and you do you, and you just whatever works. If you find something that works, stick with it. This is what I found that works, and so this is what we're going to do. I have found in cleaning off any kind of utensils of any kind, especially paddles, cups, anything, this is my method for cleaning them. First, I take just a basic baby wipe, and I buy these at the store in the case size. So I get, several. I think I get 12 of these in a box, 12 packages, because I go through them. I use them for any kind of cleanup where resin's involved. Now, once I get that done, I'm going to come along with a paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe it off. Now, you can wipe the resin off with the paper towel for a cup. If you're cleaning a resin cup, I would suggest take your paper towel, and I'll show you here. Take your paper towel, wipe the inside of it out with the paper towel, hit it after you get all the excess out, then hit it with the baby wipe, and it will, I guarantee you, it will be perfectly clean inside of there, and you're done. And I'm not a big fan of letting it sit and letting it cure in one of those cups and then picking it off, because to me, I think that takes away the lifetime of that cup and it ruins it. So I use this. Now, there's a lot of people that don't like it, and like I say, this is the only resin that I use. I like it, and I've not had any problems with it. And you see that? Look at all those bubbles that are not inside of there. I mean, there are virtually no bubbles in this, okay? So what I'm going to do is going to pour these coasters, but we're not going to put the little Jesuses in there quite yet. We're going to let this cure most of the way, and then I'm going to come and lay the little tiny Jesuses inside of it, and then we're going to pour the top coat after the bottom coat has set for maybe an hour or 2. Now, once again, this is me. I don't care what anybody else says or does. It's what I like to do. So we're going to, this is 99% rubbing alcohol that's in this bottle here. Okay, that's all it is. I do that because it helps the resin spread, and it helps dispel bubbles. And the one thing that helps dispel bubbles is how fast you pour. So we're going to go into each of these coasters, and we're going to pour whatever amount we think is viable for each coaster. But these are pretty thick, these coasters are, so they're a good 1/2 inch thick coaster. And I've just mixed 8 ounces of resin into this cup for the first batch, okay? Now, resin's not cheap. I think I pay about $70 a bottle for my resin. I'm sorry, $70 a gallon. That's, or for 2 gallons. That's, you get 2-gallon jugs, so they count that as 2 gallons. But what I like to do is I like to take one of these here silicone scrapers, and I like to get just the last little bit of remaining resin out of there, because every little bit counts. So we now have that resin poured into that container, or the coaster molds, and we're just going to let that, like I say, we're going to let that sit, we're going to let that cure, and we're going to come back in about an hour or two, and we're going to finish this up. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get these into the resin now for the next step. I've already got these 3 done, and I put some UV resin in there. Oops, and gotta watch it. So I put some UV resin in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to create the illusion of water. You know, if anybody knows the story, I'm just using this UV resin. I got it with a kit of some sort, but it works pretty good. So, and I'm going to be covering it up, so I'm really not going to be too concerned about anything outside of it. If I was going to do anything beyond this, I would probably use a little bit better UV resin, but this will work for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some into this little plastic container here. All right. And I've got some resin pigment here. Got some blue. I'm just going to put a couple drops in there. Two drops might be enough. Doesn't really matter, because I'm just trying to make it look like water anyway. So I've mixed it in here, and I've got this little disposable, little plastic looking little cup, and these work great for this kind of an application, because I'm just putting a little bit of, and if you're making jewelry or anything like that, get you some of these if you don't want to just make a whole lot and you're just using a little bit of UV resin. So what we're going to do is, I've got that blue mixed up in there pretty good, and now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to pour it just along this bottom edge a little bit, and we're just going to basically go along here, and then I'm going to kind of contour this a little bit so it looks like waves or whatever. You can use the tip of this, the spout for the little cup, if you want to kind of give it that watery look. Okay. Like I say, there's no hard and fast rule. So then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my UV light here and I'm going to turn that on. See, I've got that there, and I've got the bottom part underneath it, and I'm just going to let that sit over the top of that for a few minutes. I'm going to put this little Jesus on there too, because I want to make sure that he stays in place. So now we've got all of that in there. See, these are stuck in place, and they look pretty good where they're at, and I'm pretty satisfied with their positioning. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. So the next step, of course, is to top these off with some UV resin. Now I'm not going to pour this on there because I ran out of silicone mats and I've got to get a new one. And I went to look Sometimes you can find them at Dollar General, but I didn't find any today. I always put part B, and I almost went backwards. I always put part B in first because the A is heavier, and I'm almost out in this jug, so I'm going to go ahead and pour what I can out of this jug into this cup. Looks like I'm going to get about 4 total ounces out of this. I will have a little bit of A left. I don't know why, but I always have A left. But that's all right. And we're going to get this poured in here. I don't have a lot of part A left. I mean, it's almost pretty even, so it's almost empty. And we're going to get that poured into that cup. I'm going to lower my mixer. I'm going to have to lower this one all the way down in it. And I'm probably going to end up with air bubbles in this, so this may not work out as well as I want to. I'm going to have to get some more resin, I think. Maybe we'll mix it at a lower rate. I'm probably going to introduce bubbles into here, and I don't like that because it's so shallow. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off so you can see. Now you can see I've got all of the little Jesuses on there. I've got them with their little waters. And like I say, you can just be as creative as you want to when you do this kind of stuff. You can put anything in these resin coasters. I put, you know, sometimes I put like gears in it. I have had some popularity with some of these little golden marijuana leaves. People like those. You can do just about anything that you want. The sky's the limit. But I have found that pouring these like this it really works out well. And so I get everything mixed up. We're going to pour. If this doesn't have a lot of bubbles in it, and I hope it doesn't, it's promising right now, but I'm going to pour these over this. And I'm going to have to get some more resin, but I'll show you how to do one and how to cover it up. And I may have to add some more resin to it later on, but I'm going to take the one that looks to be the most full, and that would be this one here. So once I've got the item in here that I want to permanently seal. Now the other thing you got to watch too is you've got to be careful not to put too much resin in the base coat, because if you do, you're going to have a problem with these little Jesus feet sticking out of the top of the. And right now I see where I've kind of went over on some of these to where when I pour the resin in there, it may end up being a problem. This one's okay, but these, I may have to, don't say anything to Jesus, but I may have to cut his feet off here. But that'll be all right. All right, I'm going to stop this, I think, for now. And the other thing I didn't do with this is I didn't mix it at a high rate of speed. I just mixed it at a lower rate. So I'm going to turn that on and let that spin off. All right, we're going to let that spin off for a minute. Yeah, I think I'd probably be better off if I grabbed some scissors. So we're going to go along here and we're just going to cut these little feet. Maybe. Well, that's easier said than done. Them scissors ain't very sharp. Well, let's get a knife and let's cut them like that. Careful not to cut yourself when you do this. But unfortunately, sorry Jesus, I gotta remove your feet. Well, he's not stuck down, so he's easy enough to remove the feet off of. I'm going to have to stick some more UV resin on him, and he's not stuck down. So none of these are stuck down very good, but that's okay. We want to trim these up a little bit so it doesn't look like they had feet. So it just looks like they've got their robe. This guy was okay. So always measure and always check before you pour your, because you don't want to get to the end and think, oh crud, I got his toes sticking out of the resin, because you don't want that. So we're going to trim those off a little bit. Hobby knife would work, any kind of razor knife that you have, anything sharp. You could use the scissors. So we're going to touch this resin up a little bit. We're going to get our Jesus put back on there. And we're going to just kind of smear it around there. He's stuck in there pretty good. He's not so much. So we're going to put some more resin down there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this from both sides. So we're going to pull my light out. You learn by doing, right? And if you make mistakes, you know what? You make mistakes. And if you're working with resin, I'm just going to tell you something right now, my friend. You're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. But it's not the end of it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip this light on for a few seconds. And that will cure the resin from both sides so that they won't move once that resin. I don't want them to float up, is basically all there is to it. I'm going to go ahead and get my paddle cleaned off while we wait. Once again, paper towel. I use these blue shop towels that I get out of the automotive section because they're thicker, they're heavier, and I can get a lot of uses out of one. And then I got that wiped off, and then we're going to take and wipe off any remaining residue. It's unfortunate. I hope nothing ever happens to this because you can't buy this paddle mixer anymore. All right, so we have cured the resin on both sides of the, there we go. Now they're stuck in place. See that? They're stuck like they're supposed to be. They're not moving. Feet have been removed to where it looks like a, it looks like a robe. So then we're just going to come over the top of this. See, now I virtually have no bubbles in there. So let's go ahead and hit it with our alcohol. And like I said, I'm just going to do one because I'm going to have to mix more resin to cover the others. So I've got the alcohol poured on there. And I like to start going over the top of, if I have one item in there, I like to just pour starting right over the top of that, whatever that is, because that way it keeps him from, he's not floating at all. So we'll wait until that cures. I do have to put just a little bit more of a top coat over this when it's done. Okay. Might have just went a little too crazy on the amount of resin that I put in there at the beginning. Wasn't thinking of putting something as thick as these little Jesus figures in there. So that's all right. I think it'll turn out okay once I get to the end and once I get done. So that's how you do these. That's how you make them. Pass over the top of these. And if you look, there you go. You see how they're, yep, they are. This one right here has a resin. He's got that little spot sticking out of the top, but that's okay. We'll dome it when we're done, and that will do it. Thanks for watching, and we'll do another video sometime real soon.